It's championship or bust for the Buckeyes this fall. But wait a minute. Which championship? The Big Ten championship or the national championship? Honest question. I have some scenarios for you. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. It's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on and get started. So the Buckeyes, title or bust, right? Plus Huskers country. And by country, I mean country music. I'll explain. Plus, we'll have our Big Ten Classics and live action at the end. Very emotional broadcast coming up over this weekend. I'll tell you about that. But first, let's reminisce a little bit. Spring football, we just went through it. We're all very excited about it. And it's over. But the high expectations and fans' giddiness and the countdown of the days until the 2024 season, man, it's as high as ever. Everybody's ready to go. Everybody's talking about, hey, did you see this guy or did you see that during the spring game? Oh, let's get going. We got this team on the schedule. We're all doing it. That's why we love this. We're all passionate Big Ten fans. In fact, the recent spring games at places like Ohio State, for example, they ratcheted up the intensity and passion. 80,000 people for what is basically a glorified scrimmage. That'll do it to you, right? That'll get you pumped up and excited and ready to go. Can you blame them? No. We're all the same way. It seems like the moment that the 2023 season ended for the Buckeyes and ended short of expectations, there was this mandate, somewhat unspoken, somewhat very spoken, that the Ohio State Buckeyes better win a championship in 2024. But wait, which one? It's an honest question for you. This is for you Buckeyes fans out there. And if you're not a Buckeyes fan, maybe you can participate as well. No doubt. Everybody's welcome. Ideally, you want to beat Michigan. You want to win the Big Ten championship, then make a run to the college football playoffs and win the national championship. That part's unspoken. Understood. Got it. But only one team out of all the college football teams can win a national championship. So I want to know, what are the Buckeyes fans' priorities at this place and time? Again, honest question here. What if the unspeakable happens? What if you lose to the team up north? But you're still one of the best teams in the country by far, and you easily make it into the newly expanded 12-team college football playoffs and win. So, under that scenario, national championship, no Big Ten title, a fourth straight loss to Michigan. It can happen. With the expanded playoffs, all these things are very, very possible. Would you take it? What about a loss to the team up north, but it's your only loss of the season and you still make the Big Ten championship and win it, plus a playoff appearance, but you come up short. So you got a Big Ten title. Again, championship or bust for Buckeyes fans. Does that count under that scenario? Again, lost to Michigan, but you win the Big Ten, but no natty. Does that qualify as championship or bust? What if, got some more, what if you beat Michigan? You lose the Big Ten title to, let's say, Oregon, but then you're still good enough. You get into the playoffs and you win a national championship. Would you take that one? I think you would. Again, that's beating Michigan, losing the Big Ten, but still winning a national championship. Again, very possible the way football is laid out now. What if you beat Michigan, you win the Big Ten title, but lose the national championship? I think you would begrudgingly take that scenario, wouldn't you? Win against Michigan, Big Ten title. Okay, not everybody can win the national championship. I think you would take that one. But look, we all know, based on what we saw this spring, based on what we saw in the offseason and putting this team together, and Ryan Day doubling down on keeping borderline kids that could have gone to the draft, decided to stay, got them some nil money. There was a huge commitment by the Ohio State administration to keep most of this team intact. There's still a mission to find a quarterback. We'll get into that in a minute. This is a loaded football team with very high expectations, realistic high expectations. So let's look at this a little bit. Look, they're loaded enough to win a national championship. So when Buckeyes fans talk about championship or bust in 2024, I'll ask again, is that a national championship or bust, or win over Michigan and a Big Ten championship or bust? Again, I know ideally the hope and maybe the expectation this year is to run the table on all of it, all the above. Michigan, the Big Ten, and the national championship. Maybe that's what championship or bust means for most Buckeye fans. That's where the bar is this year. Now, first things first, like I said a minute ago, we got to figure out how this quarterback thing shakes out. I personally am on the record as someone who's not a huge Will Howard fan. I don't think he's an upgrade over Kyle McCord when it comes to passing accuracy. I don't. I think a lot of people share that opinion. Just look at his career completion percentage. I mean, it's like 59%, 60%. It's not that good. Devin Brown, he couldn't beat out Kyle McCord last year. Will he beat out Will Howard this year after all the hoopla bringing Will Howard in? Maybe. Or will one of the two young guns that are coming in, the two freshmen coming in? Although I know that's happening at Nebraska. Their 5-star freshman's going to start. I just don't see that happening at Ohio State. A true freshman starting a quarterback at Ohio State ever. But maybe. I'll keep my mind open on that one. And while we spend a lot of time talking about quarterbacks on this podcast or the national media at large, we can talk about quarterbacks in this offense. The Buckeyes defense is stacked this year. I don't think enough people talk about the fact that Alabama transfer, their safety, Caleb Downs, is coming in. He just made a really stout defense even better on the back end. Look, this defense is great. It starts up front with a formidable defensive line. Now you got Caleb Downs on the back end ready to go. And, maybe a lot of people didn't pay a lot of attention to him because he was a freshman. He hasn't been on the scene very long. But think about this. He was the first freshman in the history of Alabama to lead the team in tackles. First ever. Bear Bryant never had a guy like this. 107 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery at Alabama in the SEC as a freshman. Needless to say, he was the SEC Freshman of the Year, and now he's a Buckeye. It's going to be great. Surely there's plenty to be in a frenzy about if you're a Buckeyes fan. We're less than 90 days from Big Ten Media Days, and right after that comes practice and the season. It's right around the corner. Week 0 will be here. I'm already circling dates on the calendar. I know you guys are too, like October 12th at Oregon. That's going to mean a lot. Then a bye week after that, and hosting a very interesting Nebraska team, I think, on October 26th. 1 week later, it's on to Penn State to kick off November, and it's go time. Then there's the game that you all know that I'm alluding to on November 30th. Kind of a big deal. Very exciting. It'll be here before you know it. Can't wait. Hey, if you like what you see and hear with this podcast, if you're one of our everydayers or regular, tell a friend about us. I'm sure you have a Big Ten friend at work, family. Let them know that we're here. Word of mouth spreading. We're growing like gangbusters as usual. It's been fantastic. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I always ask, if you don't mind, please subscribe. Just click it. That's all it takes. No other information is required. And you're in with us in the Big Ten Club here every day. And it is free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. All right. Love to have you on board on a permanent basis. So Nebraska quarterbacks and coaches are huge country music fans, apparently. And Zach Bryan seems to be a huge friend of Nebraska. We'll tell you all the details about that. Plus, Kirk Ferentz, head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes, has updated everybody on the health of the Hawkeyes, particularly at quarterback, where they're kind of thin now We'll explain all that. It's coming up in a minute right here on Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. Monopoly Go is taking the world by storm. You played Monopoly as a kid, the board game. Well, this is next level stuff. Monopoly Go. You download it, you play it on your device, play with your friends. They're timed tournaments all over the world, all the time. You can work together to build up your boards, take on other people. You win together, get some awesome prizes that you can unlock as well. You get these unique stickers that you can trade with a friend. You complete albums for big prizes. They have cool new playing pieces to travel on the boards with. They have hilarious emojis that you can taunt your friends with. Have some fun with that. You can smash their buildings. You can heist their vaults. Lots of stuff in there that you couldn't do back in the day as a kid with Monopoly. That's because Monopoly Go is different. It feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. And there's always new timed events that can help you win big, like massive multipliers. And everything you win or rent frenzies, everything's right there. There's always something fun to discover at Monopoly Go. Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now for free on Google Play or the App Store. It's game on with Monopoly Go. Thanks, everybody, for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day and helping us grow with those subscriptions. Thank you, especially everydayers out there. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now on YouTube. You can share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten wherever you're catching the podcasts. Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And while I'm at it, I'll remind you, don't forget our website where all of our podcasts are in order, chronologically, time, date, stamped, grouped by teams, schools, whatever you want. If you're a Huskers fan, you go, hey, let me look at these past podcasts that focus on the Huskers. Go right there. TalkBig1010.com. TalkBig1010.com. Write the number, not the word. Okay. Now, any of our audience member out here, big country music fans, I'm sure tons of you are. Zach Bryan was performing on Tuesday in Omaha. Guess what he did? He saw Nebraska freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola there up near the front row, brought him up on stage. Matt Rule, the head coach, he got on stage too. A lot of action out there. It's been an awesome spring for Raiola, right? I mean, remember, he's an early enrollee. In real life, he should be a senior still in high school, finishing his senior year. He turns 19, I think, this week. I mean, he should be, going to prom and planning on graduation, but he's already skipped all that so he can enroll early here at Nebraska. So instead, he wowed everybody with his performance last weekend in front of 60,000 fans in the spring game. And then within a week, he's on stage in front of thousands more people, actually singing with Zach Bryan. It's pretty cool. That's cooler than prom. It is. He's having a great week and a great big expectations. We're going to talk about the Huskers tomorrow. Again, some more. We love it. Everybody loves it. Update from Kirk Ferentz, head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes, on the health of his roster. He says, as of right now, nobody who missed any action in spring or was nursing an injury should be out when summer camp begins. Everybody should all be healed up and good to go. So that's a good sign. Of note would be starting quarterback Cade McNamara, who's still recovering from season-ending knee surgery and knee injury last year in week 5. But he should be good to go. And they're better be because they're very thin at quarterback. Deacon Hill transferred out. He was their backup. Very thin. If Cade McNamara can't go, and they didn't bring anybody really in. So it's just going to be Cade McNamara and their youngest of young recent recruits over the past 2 years. McNamara still can't drop back, plant, and throw. He is throwing, though. He was out there at spring ball tossing it around a little bit, but he can't set up and move around too well. There's new offensive coordinator Tim Lester. He may or may not be a difference maker with his offense, but he's got to get his starting quarterback up and running. And then he's got to get some depth just in case. Again, McNamara's been hurt 3 times in the last 18 months. So you got to have a plan. You got to have a backup plan over there at Iowa. Let's talk about a plan at UCLA for just a moment. All right, that's a complete rebuild over there. As they prepare to join the Big Ten, new football coach Deshaun Foster is kind of tearing away everything from players to style to culture that Chip Kelly had before Chip Kelly left to go take the Ohio State offensive coordinator job. He's putting his own stamp on things there in Westwood, and he wants to build more excitement for fans by being more accessible to fans and the community. There's one glaring problem, though, and the Bruins had the worst ranked recruiting rankings out of all the Big Ten teams. Worst. For a team that's trying to infuse some new excitement into the program, they only signed 10 high school players for the incoming 2024 class. It's not very much. And it's like they're starting all over again in recruiting. They had like 100 potential future recruits on the sidelines for the spring game at the Rose Bowl the other day. Things are already looking up if you want to jump ahead to 2025. The Bruins have offered scholarships to more than 70 high school players. In fact, they already have 4 commitments for 2024. And look, they got to retake control of Southern California. That is a hotbed of talent. And, you know, both Southern Cal and UCLA, they need to own Southern California. I lived in Southern California in the early 2000s, and kids left all the time to go to like Oregon and other Pac-12 schools. And you got to keep them in at home. There's plenty of talent there. It's absolutely what they need to do. And they better get it down in a quarterback. You know, in recent years, Kelly lost out on guys that, California guys and guys like CJ Stroud and Bryce Young and Jaden Daniels. There was the back and forth with Dante Moore, who's from Oregon. They got him to come down and go to UCLA, but after a year he left. Now he's back in Oregon. Been an absolute roller coaster out west. Now, people sometimes remember Eric Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator there, former Chiefs offensive coordinator, and with the Commanders. So, and I can get some kids excited. Look, man, I got a coach who's been in the NFL. Coach has worked with Patrick Mahomes. Maybe he can work with me. Should be able to get some talent in there, I would think. But they're kind of starting over right at ground zero there at UCLA, and it might be a long, long rebuild. But they got something. Look, they got beautiful weather, and they got a good coaches there, and we'll see what happens at UCLA. I don't expect a lot out of them this year, to be honest with you. Any preview we've done, we did power rankings the other day. I had them kind of far down, to be honest with you. So, and you can check that out if you missed it. It was Wednesday's podcast here on Lockdown Big Ten. Again, go to our website, talkbig10.com. You can check it out. Watch it after this one. Always invite you to watch more after this one as well. Speaking of watching things, do you watch a lot of TV during the day? Sports TV? Is it on in the background while you're working from home or whatever the case may be? You know, those Fox and ESPN talking head shows where they scream and yell at each other all day. You got to turn the volume down sometimes. It's too much. I'm encouraging you to make the switch to Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day with the biggest stories about all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or for free on Amazon Fire TV channels app that we promote all the time here, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, you know what we like to do at this point of the podcast? We like to look ahead to the weekend, kind of your TV guide, if you will, with the Big Ten Network. Again, we're not affiliated with the Big Ten Network, but we like the same stuff. We talk about the same stuff. So I'm going to let you know what's going on out there this weekend. We always take a look at Big Ten Classics, a very, very emotional game, Big Ten Classics and Big Ten live action. All that's coming up in 1 minute here on Locked On Big Ten. You want to go to a game? You want to go to an event, concert, show, comedy, sporting event, Major League Baseball game? Game time. Game time. Get the app. Get all your tickets right there on your phone. It's a snap. It's easy. And they're dialed into Major League Baseball. Some great deals that we could tell you about. People get the NBA playoff tickets, Stanley Cup. All that kind of stuff is available for you right at your fingertips. So check it out with the Game Time. They've got these last minute deals We can save up to 60% of buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, flash deals. You can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of your game or your event. All-in pricing. There's no like add-ons later. It's all right there. See what's going to cost. Boom, couple of clicks. Tickets are on your phone, including a picture of your view from the seat of the ticket you're about to buy. They also have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, especially to Major League Baseball games. Man, it's summer. Go to some games. Get out there. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKDOWNCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's do this. Let's take a look at what's coming up on the weekend. And look, I know the weather's getting nice out there. Maybe you record some of this stuff as well. I'm going to put it on screen. If you're audio only, I'll describe it in detail so you don't feel like you're missing out for what is on video. So we have it here on screen. And we're going to start it off with Friday, May 3rd. These are all Eastern times. Early in the day, 1 o'clock Eastern, it is a Penn State football classic. It is Purdue at Penn State from September of 2000, 24 years ago. This is where Adam Talaferro led his team through the tunnel after being injured before, and was able to walk and led them through the tunnel before the game. The Nittany Lions got a 22-20 upset victory over Drew Brees and the 22nd ranked Boilermakers in that game. And then if you're a little younger and you're not familiar with the Adam Talaferro story, you can check it out at 2 o'clock under the big moment. And they'll tell how he overcame that injury and inspire the entire Penn State community. So you want to, if you haven't seen that, that might bring a tear to your eye, to be honest with you. 5 o'clock Eastern time, Big Ten softball. The Indiana Lady Hoosiers are at Northwestern. And at 7 o'clock Eastern, more Big Ten softball, Nebraska at Minnesota. And at 9:30, if you missed the spring football game from Nebraska, Dylan Raiola, go check it out. It was pretty entertaining. Very entertaining. Saturday, the 4th, we'll pick it up here with 11 a.m. We don't put the whole schedule on. We just pick and choose some things we think you might be interested in. At 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, Big Ten men's golf, the Big Ten championship. So that's good. That's early on. At noon, we've got baseball. Maryland is at Rutgers. And then at 3 o'clock, Big Ten softball, Nebraska at Minnesota. Let's advance it on over to Sunday. Here's what we got. Pick it up at noon Eastern time on Sunday. More from the Big Ten championship for Big Ten men's golf. At 1 o'clock, more softball, Ohio State at Michigan. I don't care what sport it is. Ohio State and Michigan is a big deal. So you can check that out at 3 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock, you can then check out Indiana and Northwestern for more softball. So that's the schedule. A little Big Ten football classic and a lot of live action with baseball and golf and softball around the Big Ten. That is what is on the slate coming up this weekend. So check that out. A lot of good stuff up there. A lot of good stuff right here on Locked On Big Ten. If you want to reach out, many ways for you to reach out to this podcast. You can interact with me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, X, at TalkBig10, number 10. The website, TalkBig10, 10.com, where everything is archived there. Plus, you can get yourself some merch, all the stuff around here. You can get stuff just like that for you. And again, that's at TalkBig10.com. Be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Again, reminder, the audio versions, if you listen to a podcast on audio, those come out at 4 a.m. Eastern every day. And then at 6 a.m. Eastern, the video on YouTube is out. So catch it whenever you want later on in the day, but know it's out there that early. And if you subscribe, it'll be right there for you when you're ready for it. And it doesn't cost you a single thing. So we'd love to have you on board with that. And after you watch another episode or 2 or 3 of Locked On Big Ten, don't forget our friends at Locked On Sports Today here for you 24/7 on YouTube as well. As I said, we're going to talk a little bit about Nebraska football tomorrow. That's a story that's just blowing up. People can't get enough of it. So we're going to talk about that, among other things. Any breaking news, we'll have it right here. As always, thanks for joining me today. Love having you on board. Can't wait to talk to you again tomorrow. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. Talk to you next time.